Happiness is a 1998 American comedy-drama film written and directed by Todd Solondz, that portrays the lives of three sisters, their families and those around them. The film was awarded the Phi Paresci Prize at the 1998 Cannes Film Festival for its bold tracking of controversial contemporary themes, richly layered subtext, and remarkable fluidity of visual style, and the cast received the National Board of Review Award for Best Ensemble Performance. The Evil Dead is a 1981 American horror film written and directed by Sam Raimi and executive produced by Raimi and Bruce Campbell, who also stars alongside Ellen Sandwich and Betsy Baker. The Evil Dead focuses on 5 college students vacationing in an isolated cabin in a remote wooded area. Nosferatu, Eine Symphonie des Grauens is a 1922 German expressionist horror film, directed by F. W. Murnau, starring Max Schreck as the vampire Count Orlok. The film, shot in 1921 and released in 1922, was an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, with names and other details changed because the studio could not obtain the rights to the novel. Roger Me is a 1989 American documentary film directed by Michael Moore. Moore portrays the regional negative economic impact of General Motors CEO Roger Smith's summary action of closing several auto plants in Flint, Michigan, costing 30,000 people their jobs at the time. Richard Linklater's debut feature is a comic kaleidoscopic portrait which presents a day in the life in Austin, Texas among its social outcasts and misfits, predominantly the 20-something set, using a series of linear vignettes. Lone Star is a 1996 drama, mystery, romance film written and directed by John Sayles. Withnail and I is a 1987 black comedy film written and directed by Bruce Robinson. Based on Robinson's life in London in the late 1960s, the plot follows 2 unemployed young actors, Withnail and I, who live in a squalid flat in Camden Town in 1969 while waiting for their careers to take off. City of God is a 2002 Brazilian crime drama film directed by Fernando Meirelles and co-directed by Kate Lund, released in its home country in 2002 and worldwide in 2003. The story was adapted by Braulio Mantovani from the 1997 novel of the same name written by Paulo Lins, but the plot is loosely based on real events. She's Gotta Have It is a 1986 American comedy-drama film written and directed by Spike Lee. It is Lee's first feature-length film. The film stars Tracy Camilla Johns, Tommy Redmond Hicks and John Canada Terrell. Blood Simple is a 1984 neo-noir crime film written, produced and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. It was the directorial debut of the Coens and the first major film of cinematographer Barry Sonnenfeld, who later became a noted director, as well as the feature film debut of Joel Coen's wife Frances McDormand, who subsequently starred in many of his features. Stranger Than Paradise is a 1984 American absurdist, deadpan comedy film. It was written and directed by Jim Jarmusch and stars jazz musician John Lurie, former Sonic Youth drummer turned actor Richard Edson, and Hungarian-born actress Esther Balind. Memento is a 2000 American neo-noir psychological thriller film directed by Christopher Nolan. The screenplay was written by Nolan based on his younger brother Jonathan Nolan's short story Memento Mori. Eraserhead is a 1977 American surrealist body horror film written and directed by filmmaker David Lynch. Shot in black and white, Eraserhead is Lynch's first feature-length film, coming after several short works. Bad Taste is a 1987 splatter science fiction horror comedy film directed, written, produced, photographed, co-edited by and co-starring Peter Jackson, who also made most of the makeup and special effects. Mean Streets is a 1973 crime film directed by Martin Scorsese and co-written by Scorsese and Mark Martin. The film stars Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro. It was released by Warner Bros. On October 2, 1973. Sideways is a 2004 American comedy-drama film written by Jim Taylor and Alexander Payne and directed by Payne. A film adaptation from Rex Pickett's novel of the same name, Sideways follows 2 men in their 40s, portrayed by Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church, who take a week-long road trip to Santa Barbara County wine country. The Usual Suspects is a 1995 German-American neo-noir crime thriller film directed by Bryan Singer and written by Christopher McQuarrie. It stars Stephen Baldwin, Gabriel Byrne, Benicio del Toro, Kevin Pollak, Chaz Palminteri, Pete Postlethwaite and Kevin Spacey. Sex, Lies, and Videotape is a 1989 American independent drama film that brought director Steven Soderbergh to prominence. It tells the story of a man who films women discussing their sexuality, and his impact on the relationships of a troubled married couple and the wife's younger sister. Night of the Living Dead is a 1968 American independent zombie horror film directed by George A. Romero, starring Wayne Jones, Judith O'Dea and Carl Hardman. It premiered on October 1, 1968, and was completed on a $114,000 budget. Monty Python's Life of Brian is an album released by Monty Python in conjunction with the 1979 film Monty Python's Life of Brian. It mostly contains scenes from the movie with only brief linking sections performed by Eric Idle and Graham Chapman. Swingers is a 1996 comedy drama film about the lives of single, unemployed actors living on the east side of Hollywood, California during the 1990s swing revival. Written by Jon Favreau and directed by Doug Liman, the movie starred Favreau and Vince Vaughn, and also featured performances by Ron Livingston and Heather Graham. The Terminator is a 1984 American science fiction, horror action film directed by James Cameron, written by Cameron and the film's producer Gail Ann Hurd, and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michael Biehn, and Linda Hamilton. Clerks is a 1994 American black and white comedy film written and directed by Kevin Smith, who also appears in the film as Silent Bob. Starring Brian O'Halloran as Dante Hicks and Jeff Anderson as Randall Graves, it presents a day in the lives of two store clerks and their acquaintances. Donnie Darko is a 2001 American supernational drama film written and directed by Richard Kelly and starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Drew Barrymore, Patrick Swayze, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Noah Weil, Gina Malone, and Mary McDonnell. Reservoir Dogs is a 1992 American ensemble crime film that depicts the events before and after a botched diamond heist. The film was the debut of director and writer Quentin Tarantino, and stars Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tierney, and Michael Madsen.